Hello, fourth graders. This is lesson 10.3, Parallel Lines and Perpendicular Lines. Please pause to write the lesson number and title in your notebook. Today's lesson objective is I can identify and draw parallel lines and perpendicular lines. Please pause again to write the I can statement in your notebook. Alright, fourth graders, let's start with the unlock the problem. You can find models of lines in the world around you. For example, two streets that cross each other model intersecting lines. Metal rails on a train track that never cross model parallel lines. There are some vocabulary terms in this lesson that are important for us to know. The first term we see is intersecting lines. Intersecting lines are lines in a plane that cross at exactly one point. Intersecting lines form four angles. So in this example here, we see one line HI and another line JK that intersect at point X in the middle. So when we would read that, we would read it just the way I did. Line HI intersects line JK at point X. When we are to write it, we need to think back to lesson 10.1 when we learned how to name a line. When we name the line HI, we write HI with a line above it and an arrow going in both directions, as the line doesn't specify an endpoint. When we write JK, we would do the same. JK with a line above it and two arrows going in opposite directions. Then we would state that they intersect at point X. The next vocabulary term that we see is parallel lines. Parallel lines are lines in a plane that are always the same distance apart. Parallel lines never intersect. So if you look at the example that they drew here, they drew line DE and FG, both going horizontally in equal distance apart. And if we continued these lines, they would still never touch. They would never intersect. So when we read this, we would read line DE is parallel to line FG. When we write it, we again label DE with a line above it and the arrow going in each direction, and FG with an arrow above it going in each direction. And we would put this symbol between the two. This symbol means is parallel to. The way I remember this is like the two vertical lines that will never intersect, no matter how long they are. Our last term is perpendicular lines. Perpendicular lines are lines in a plane that intersect to form four right angles. So in this example here, you see two lines, L, M, and N, O, intersect at one point and create four right angles at the intersection. When we read it, we would say line LM is perpendicular to line NO. And the same thing, we would write LM with a line over it with an arrow in each direction for line LM, and NO with a line above it and an arrow in each direction for line NO. Now we would use this symbol to state that they are perpendicular to each other. This symbol means is perpendicular to. And if you see, it's kind of like an upside down T to show that the intersection creates right angles. If I were to take blue and draw the right angles, you would see them at this intersection. Okay, fourth graders, try this. Tell how the streets appear to be related. Write perpendicular, parallel, or intersecting. So let's look at 36th Street and Broadway first. So that's this intersection over here. Now I can definitely see that it's an intersection because 36th Street and Broadway do touch at one point. So I'm going to write that they're intersecting lines. But I just need to decide if they're perpendicular. So I see that Broadway runs on an angle, and it looks to me as if their intersection is not perpendicular. So these are only intersecting lines. Next, let's look at West 35th Street and 7th Ave. So that's the intersection over here. So again, they're intersecting lines, which I'll write down, but I need to figure out if they're perpendicular. Now those look to me as if those are 4 right angles. So if those are 4 right angles, then that would be perpendicular lines. So I'm going to put a little slash and I'm going to write perpendicular, because this set of lines has 2 classifications. All right, so West 37th Street and West 36th Street. So those are these 2 streets here. So I'm going to extend them and see if they ever intersect along this map, because it doesn't look like it, but I'm going to keep them going to see. Nope, they never intersect. All right, lines that never intersect are parallel lines, and they stay the same distance apart the whole way. So those are parallel lines. All right, 4th graders, please make sure your page looks like mine before continuing. If you've been following along through the flipped lesson, write intersection at the top of your page. Okay, 4th graders, you're almost finished. Just return to your teacher's webpage and complete the exit slip. See you tomorrow.